If you live in New York City or in the state in general and have come across such cute small cockroaches in your home, don't worry. They are forest cockroaches and don't breed and don't cause harm in homes. But at the same time, they are adapted well to living in parks, hedges and any green spaces in New York, in other cities in the state, across the Long Island and indeed in many areas in the East Coast. As a result, they live near many houses and regularly end up in apartments, occasionally and without any treacherous intentions. For example, one viewer sent me this photo for identification and specified that he lives on the North Shore of Long Island, New York. 6 months later, he wrote, "Since we last connected, it seems that Reddit is filled with New Yorkers and others up and down the east coast of the US asking for ideas on these forest roaches. So it's safe to say that they are firmly established here in the US." That's true actually. Forest cockroaches are numerous in North America. 4 species have already been found here and they continue their triumphant march, constantly expanding their range across different states. In New York they have long been established and are generally as common here as earwigs and paper wasps. This means that any New Yorker can encounter them in his or her cozy apartment. And the main problem here is that these cockroaches are very similar in appearance to German cockroaches, a well-known, malicious and difficult to exterminate pest. And the main challenge when you encounter a cockroach in your home is to determine whether it's a German cockroach or a wild cockroach. And accordingly to decide whether to call pest control to exterminate harmful pests or simply throw the harmless wild insect out the door and forget about it. In a special video I explain how to distinguish any wild cockroach from a German one. I won't repeat to avoid angry comments. Watch that video. In it I demonstrated the clear and unambiguous differences with all the examples. And then come back here and together we'll look at New York's wild cockroaches to reinforce your identification skills. And in general to know better the fauna that lives right near your home and has only just caught your eye. Let's start with these cockroaches from Long Island, which we have already seen. A man from northern Long Island sent me these 2 photos in December. And this is interesting. Winter in New York City is quite cold, even for forest cockroaches, and at least adult individuals die out during the normal winter with frost and snow. But this isn't the wild or semi-wild, where they can't find any warm shelter. In the city, however, such cockroaches can sneak into a warm house in the fall and stay there for the winter, and then can occasionally attract the attention of the apartment owner. It's difficult to say for sure what species of forest cockroaches this is. This is an adult female, possibly an Ectobius erythronotus cockroach, given the relatively light red color on its pronotum. But the main thing, as we already know, is that it has no black stripes on its pronotum, so this is definitely not a German cockroach. 6 months later, in the summer, the same guy sent me 2 more photos. Here the light falls on the cockroach slightly differently. The venation on the elytra, the upper pair of wings, is completely invisible, but overall the insect's coloration and general appearance are the same as in the previous photos. The author of these photos wrote that his property has bushes and landscaping near the living room, but the area near the kitchen is just lawn. This is normal. These cockroaches can fly short distances and therefore a small open area like a lawn is not an obstacle for them to get close to their house. By the way, he also noted that he only encounters these cockroaches in the house during the day. This is generally normal for forest cockroaches. Male Ectobius roaches are often active in sunlight. I often encounter them outdoors during daylight hours, sometimes even at midday. And in apartments where certain rooms can be quite dim even during the day, and where forest cockroaches are unable to maintain their natural lifestyle, they may well change their habits. This photo shows a female, and identifying the species is even more difficult. Females of all the types of Ectobius cockroaches are very similar in appearance. Incidentally, this one has already laid at least one egg ootheca. You can see that its abdomen is shortened and widened, and the wingtips extend well beyond the rear edge of the body. Such appearance female cockroaches acquire after shedding their ootheca. The guy sent me a letter with these photos in September, writing that he lives near a large park and the East River. And yeah, by September, female Ectobius cockroaches have plenty of time to lay eggs or oothecas somewhere. These egg capsules typically overwinter, and in the spring, with the arrival of warmer weather, tiny forest nymphs hatch from there. So it's quite possible that next year this mother will have offspring somewhere on the banks of the East River. By the way, early autumn is the period of the most intense migration of forest cockroaches, especially of flying ones, into apartments. I received the most photos of them for identification from late August to mid-October. This is most likely due to the disappearance of fresh green grass, leaves, berries and fruits, the main cockroaches' food supply. The weather also gets colder, and together these reasons force the insects to seek warmer shelters. This cockroach has found such shelter. It looks very similar to one from the previous photos from the north shore of Long Island. The girl found it dead, but even from this corpse it's clear it's a male forest cockroach, likely Ectobius erythronotus. Another cockroach from Long Island, also a male, is either slightly overexposed or is very light colored, making it very similar to the Mediterranean spotted cockroach Ectobius pallidus. But the pallidus cockroaches found in the United States are known for their elytra densely dotted with tiny spots, which is where they get their name. Our specimen, however, does not show such spots. Again, either because of the light or the blurriness of the footage. So it could be the same erythronotus or the Lapland cockroach Ectobius laponicus. But it doesn't really matter. What matters is that it's a forest cockroach. Take a look at its pronotum and don't worry. A woman found it near the kitchen door leading to the backyard in October and was quite reasonably worried that it might be a German cockroach. But we can already see that it's not a pest, but simply an outdoor living neighbor that had wandered into her kitchen to get warm. That same October, this time in Westchester, cockroaches like these started crawling into one of the houses. The owner found 3 of these specimens in 2 weeks and began to suspect they were breeding in his home. He also noted, by the way, that they were moving quite slowly. This particular specimen is a female, possibly a Lapland cockroach or erythronotus, and most likely its companions and it are crawling indoors in search of warmth in cold October mornings. We can see that its pronotum is uniformly colored, without stripes, meaning it's not a female German cockroach and therefore it is not breeding in the apartment. It simply crawled outside to get warm and just needs to be released. From Sayville, I've already received cockroaches of both sexes, males and females, for identification. Assuming they are representatives of the same species, the owner's concern is understandable. Insects of different sexes can unexpectedly become parents, and you don't want to deal with their offspring in the apartment. But here again we definitely don't have pests. Most likely these are the very same erythronotus roaches like those we saw in several previous photos. Therefore, their offspring in the apartment pose no danger. They can't survive here without decomposing plant matter, and their reproductive cycle isn't complete. However, it's interesting to note the difference in appearance between the females and males. Males have longer wings and a more slender abdomen, while females are plumper, wider and seemingly lighter in color, although their color could be attributed to the camera's performance. And here's another male Ectobius from Long Island, so similar to the cockroaches from the author of the first photos that it seems as if 2 different people photographed the same insect. The guy writes that he has been finding 4 or 5 of these cockroaches every day for the past few months and is very worried about whether they are house pests and whether they are breeding in his apartment. By the way, this is an important point, which you have probably already noticed. None of the photos show nymphs. All the cockroaches we see here are adults. This is quite understandable. Thanks to their mobility and in some species thanks to their ability to fly, they can travel significant distances and enter houses and apartments located tens or hundreds of meters from their usual habitats. While nymphs, smaller, slower and wingless, are therefore less mobile, rarely reach apartments and houses, so they swarm in bushes and grass, undisturbed and unnoticed, even in New York or other big cities. Even from a tree near a house, to sprint 30 or 40 meters to a house and enter a building, a serious challenge for the half-centimeter long nymph. This can serve as an additional identification feature. If only relatively big adults are found in an apartment, there is a chance they are simply entering from outside and don't breed there, meaning they are not pests. If nymphs of various sizes are regularly found there, there's a good chance they hatch right there. Again, this feature is ambiguous and not entirely reliable. In my next video I plan to show some very interesting cockroaches from the UK, which nymphs are very recognizable due to their coloring, and exactly these nymphs are regularly found in apartments there. I don't know why they do so, unlike the New York compeers. Either because there is more greenery near houses there and these nymphs live right next to them, or because British cockroaches are more attracted to buildings and so the nymphs can get into apartments. So, generally speaking, a single cockroach nymph in an apartment isn't a reason to panic. Although I haven't received any from New York apartments yet. Or maybe I have, but senders did not mention they photographed these nymphs in New York. So, to summarize, if you encounter a cockroach in your New York home, or even if you encounter them regularly but infrequently, first check if it has stripes on its pronotum. If there aren't any stripes, you can relax. It's not a German cockroach. It's a forest cockroach and they don't breed in houses, don't cause harm and don't live there permanently. Just throw it out the window and don't worry. But if your cockroaches have 2 black stripes running along their pronotum, and especially if you see these striped cockroaches of varying calibers in your apartment, both winged larger adults and smaller, darker wingless nymphs, then they are likely breeding here and need to be removed from here, either by yourself or by calling a pest control service. There are many good pest control services in New York City that can liquidate such infestation in your home with one normal treatment. And practically, if none of your neighbors have a breeding ground for German cockroaches in their homes, getting rid of these pests won't be a big deal. But if there is infestation behind the wall, then yeah, you need to work a bit hard on it. And if you are still unsure about the accuracy of identifying types of your cockroaches, you can take a photo or video of them and send it to me. At the very least, they are easy to distinguish from German cockroaches. I get a ton of such footage, see lots of interesting specimens, and I've never had a situation where it was unclear whether it was a German cockroach or a forest cockroach in the more or less clear photos. So together we'll surely identify your cockroaches. A huge thank to everyone who sends me donations. They especially enhance the excitement of identification. Receiving donations from New York is truly enjoyable. And remember, with every like on this video, one cockroach from the street stays out there, doesn't come into your apartment and doesn't scare you. You know what to do right now.